What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Final Fantasy VII yet again, and I want to talk about all of them, okay? We got Remake, Rebirth, the third game. There was a couple quotes that were floating around over the last couple of days, and I'm just kind of curious as to, what's going on there. Now, there's been a lot of signs with Square Enix this year, and just outright, them saying it, right? They want to move on. They don't want the exclusivity thing. They want to, enter this new era of putting things everywhere, and we've talked about it, here and there. I want to bring that stuff back up in this video too, because I just feel like this is a good place to kind of put it all, right? So you have all the past talk of hey, the exclusivity thing, really, this is not happening. This is not working. And you had a couple different quotes that were talked about over the last couple days, one of which saying that they are confident and happy we are reaching a certain level of sales, and that's talking about Rebirth. They also talk about with modern games, we cannot be exclusive to a single platform, and that we need to offer this game to as many players as possible. Now, that was kind of the first quote that was thrown out. I want to just get to the other quote, and then we'll talk about everything. This was from Hamaguchi, by the way, so this is pretty serious, I would say. We will continue to take on the challenge of bringing the Final Fantasy VII Remake series to as many game fans as possible next year, so we ask for your continued support. And so, okay, some things are not so confusing, right? I think part of what he just said right there could be referring to the PC release, right? Because Rebirth is coming, and he says the Remake series, so I'm assuming he doesn't just mean Remake, he means Remake and Rebirth, right? Coming to, and Rebirth coming to PC is going to open it up to some new people. Now, well, the first time I read that, I did originally just think about Remake, right? Maybe he's talking about 2025 being the year that Remake makes its way to Xbox. And you think, okay, well, Remake 2020, this is 5 years. It's going to be 5 years, I think, in February, March that it came out. Okay, well, it's been enough time. I don't know what kind of exclusivity contract Sony is signing, but I think it would make sense. In terms of that first one, though, right, where it's in this modern age, you cannot have games being exclusive anymore. That one is just really puzzling to me because I still have questions about the future. Now, by the way, I'm not saying I need these games to be exclusive. I'm past that point in my life if I ever was at that point. I'm at a point where a game comes out. If it's a game I'm interested in, I find a way to play it, okay? If they're not happy with the exclusivity thing, they're not happy with it, and they're going to do something different, I don't get mad. I don't get concerned. I just think, okay, they got to do what they got to do, right? But I have brought this up before, and again, I think this is a good place to do it. These are weird quotes, okay? If certain future things end up happening. And I guess what I mean by that is if there was already a contract in play years ago, right? When Remake was coming out, Remake, Rebirth, and the third game. They knew they were going to do 3 of them, and Sony, PlayStation comes in and says, we're signing all 3 and we're having it be exclusive. Is there a way out of that? And I only say that, I don't say that as again, I need them to get out of it or anything. It's just these quotes about these games cannot be exclusive anymore. It's going to look really ridiculous if the final game in 7's trilogy is going to be PlayStation exclusive. Now, I personally don't care too much, but they might, and also, what do they mean by the exclusivity thing, right? If 7 Part 3 comes out on PS5, say 2027, right? Say they make the 30th anniversary, comes out 2027 on PS5 and PC. It comes out at the same time on both. Is that allowed? Is that allowed in the contract that they might have signed years ago? Did they sign a contract years ago that say that, or did they just do this on the fly? And because that's a possibility too. Maybe they just signed Remake, and then as we were getting closer to Rebirth, PlayStation jumped in and they signed it for Rebirth. I don't think so. And that's just that is just my own speculation. I feel like if they know they're gonna do 3 of them and you're doing it from the jump, why would you only sign one of them to be exclusive, right? Why wouldn't you just do the whole thing? So for what it's worth, from my opinion, I think that all 3 of them were locked up under PlayStation in some way. Now, another part to bring in, okay, and this is something that I've said kind of controversially, but funny enough, I have seen some people say it on Twitter, so maybe I'm not the only one saying it. Again, this is not attacks at any individual group, but I also do wonder what opening it up actually does. And okay, to expand upon that, is Final Fantasy even megastar popular anymore, in the sense that, okay, Rebirth comes out, everybody says it doesn't sell, although they say that basically for what its worth and what it's sold on, maybe just being on one platform, it sold really well. The issue is they need it on more platforms so it could sell even better. Well, again, I have actually touched upon that before. What are we talking about? And I mean that genuinely. What are you looking for? Because that's another thing that I think can make them look rather not good in the future. Like, these are all just things that I think could eventually bite them, and just maybe they have to do even more like internal thinking as years go on. You know, when they talk about exclusivity and then maybe the next game is still exclusive, right? That's going to just make them look bad. Another thing is, okay, Rebirth comes out. Let's say it sold 2 million. Now, I don't know. I don't know if it did that, right? Maybe it sold better. Maybe it sold worse than that, okay? It sold 2 million. What's it going to do on PC? What's it going to do if it comes out on Xbox? Here's the thing, and here's the thing I've said since it came out. If it massively underperformed, right? Say they were looking for 7 Rebirth, right? To do 5 million units, and it did 2 on PlayStation. Are we really going to fool ourselves into thinking it would do 3 million if you open it up everywhere? And I get, maybe that's a shot at the audiences of these places that are not opened up to, but it's also, I'm honestly not even really looking at it like that. I'm looking at it at the popularity of Final Fantasy. Like, where are we with the popularity of Final Fantasy? Is this a series that if you put Final Fantasy VII Remake on everything, Rebirth on everything, day one, or not even day one, doesn't really matter, you put it out on everything, does it do what they want, or does it still underperform? And that's the part that I'm stuck at, and why I'm and that's, you know, hence the title, why I'm kind of confused, because that's the main thing that sticks with me through all of this, right? I get it. I get wanting to open it up because maybe, you know, maybe you open a floodgate or something, right? I get that. I do get that it is pretty risky in the modern game world to do exclusivity, okay? Understand that too. But also, like, are they fooling themselves into thinking that this thing can triple its sales? You know, because that's the thing, right? From a lot of games, I think this is actually just kind of statistically proven, a lot of games that come out, say, day one, they come out across everything, right? PlayStation normally leads in sales. I mean, when it comes to even PlayStation versus Xbox, it could be like an 80-20 split sometimes. Not all the times. Maybe it's 60-40, but it's normally in the 60, 70, 80 range. People will buy the game on PlayStation versus Xbox. And that's, I don't care. I don't care. But I am curious, if the game sells 2 million on PlayStation, even if it sells, let's say a quarter, right? Let's say it does 75%, 25%. If it does 2.5 million, is that better? Is that, no, yeah, I mean, factually it is better. 2.5 is better than 2. But is it like worth all of this? You know, is it their savior? Is releasing it on everything the savior that they almost kind of need it to be, right? Because here's the thing. Once they put these games everywhere and they do it day one, you can't use that as an excuse anymore. And that has been a pretty big excuse, you know, this entire time. It's because it's only on one console. It's on one thing. Well, what happens when it's on everything and the sales, even say 3, say half, right? 2 million on PlayStation. These are just random numbers, okay? But say it sells half as well on Xbox, or even maybe matches it. 2 million, and which I just don't think is possible, by the way. I just actually factually do not believe that. But 2 million on PlayStation, 1 million on Xbox, what, 500,000 you want to say on PC? All right, if the game needed 5 million, you still haven't gotten there yet, right? I mean, again, these are just numbers I'm throwing out, but I wonder how all that stuff works. Are they missing their budget and their like investor stuff by like 500,000 units? Because in which case, okay, they can fix that pretty easily, and they will fix it, and that's great. I want them to fix these things. I want these things to be profitable because I like these games quite a bit. But if they're not, you know, if they're still looking for numbers that they're not going to get, I don't really know what this is going to do for them. I almost think it's taking away, and this is, again, things we've talked about over the last year. We've looked at, like, the graph since really 7, right, say 97. We've looked at the years, and, like, it's a downward trend. The last 20 years, 30 years has been downward trend for Final Fantasy. So, yeah, you're closing it off here and there because you're choosing exclusivity, but I also think the franchise is just diminishing as well. So, even if you open it up, I don't really think that's going to save it. I guess that's kind of my 10-minute point here. That's what I was trying to get to. So I don't know. I mean, again, in terms of my own predictions, I think 7 Remake is probably going to be on Xbox in 2025. We'll see what it does. Obviously, Rebirth coming to PC. I don't think Rebirth would come to Xbox in 2025 just because it's only been like a year and a half, right? But then in terms of the future, like I do think Part 3 Best case for like all of gaming is that it comes out on PC and PlayStation same day, right? That would be like a happy medium. But I don't think it's going to be on Xbox. I just feel that that contract was signed a long time ago. Just my opinion, just a lot of speculation, but it's always puzzled me. And even when I've made these videos, nobody's really like come in to say, okay, Alex, let me explain it to you. Here's how everything's going to work itself out. I feel like it's just a weird situation in general that nobody really understands, right? And I mean, again, if I'm wrong, you guys can let me know in the comments. So let me know. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.